My wife refused to cancel her vacation during my mother's emergency surgery, and one cruel moment revealed her true priorities and ended our marriage. My mother's voice was shaky, but she tried to sound strong. The doctors had found something during her routine checkup, and they needed to operate. This Friday, emergency surgery. I hung up and sat there for a moment, processing it all. My mother, who raised me alone after my father left when I was 12, who worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat, who never asked for help from anyone, needed me now, and there was no question about it I would be there. My wife was upstairs getting ready for work, humming some pop song. I climbed the stairs and found her applying lipstick in the bathroom mirror. "We need to talk," I said, leaning against the doorframe. She glanced at me through the reflection. "What's up?" "My mother needs emergency surgery this Friday. They found something serious and the doctors want to operate immediately." The lipstick tube paused halfway to her lips. "Oh, that's really scary. Is she going to be okay?" "They think so, but it's major surgery. She'll need someone there, and I'm all she has." "The thing is," I paused, knowing this conversation was about to get complicated. "This Friday is when you and the girls leave for your annual trip to Miami, right?" Her shoulders tensed slightly. "Yes, it is. Look, I know how much you look forward to this trip every year, but I really need your support right now. Could you maybe postpone it for a week or 2, just until we know my mother is okay?" She set down the lipstick and turned to face me directly. Her expression was already hardening. "You're asking me to cancel my trip?" "Not cancel, just postpone. The girls would understand." "And do you have any idea how long we've been planning this? How much money we've already spent on flights, on hotels?" I stared at her. "My mother might have cancer. This isn't exactly planned either. But your mother has other people who can help her. Other relatives, friends from church. I'm sure someone else can." "No, she doesn't. You know this. You know I'm all she has left." My wife crossed her arms and looked at me like I was being completely unreasonable. "Look, I'm sorry about your mother. I really am. But this trip, it's important to me. It's the one time all year when I can just relax and have fun with my friends." The kitchen felt smaller suddenly, like the walls were closing in. "So, you won't postpone the trip? I can't just cancel on everyone at the last minute. They're counting on me being there, and I'm counting on you being here." She sighed dramatically, like I was the one being difficult. "Your mother will be fine. Doctors do these surgeries all the time now. She'll probably be home in a couple of days." "That's not the point then." "What is the point?" I looked at this woman I'd been married to for 6 years, really looked at her. "The point is that when someone you love is facing something terrifying, you show up. You don't calculate the inconvenience." "I'm not calculating anything. I'm being practical. There's nothing I can actually do at the hospital except sit around and wait. At least if I go on my trip, one of us can enjoy our weekend." The words hung in the air between us like poison gas. "Enjoy our weekend," I repeated slowly. "You know what I mean?" "Actually, I don't think I do. Explain it to me." She threw her hands up in exasperation. "Why are you being so dramatic about this? Your mother will have nurses and doctors taking care of her, professional medical staff. What am I going to do? Perform the surgery myself? You're going to be there because that's what family does. She's not my mother, but I'm your husband." For a moment, neither of us said anything. Then she picked up her lipstick again and turned back to the mirror. "Look, I feel bad about the timing, but I can't help that. You think I'll cancel my annual girls' trip for your mother's surgery? Good luck to her, but no." The words hit me like ice water. Not just what she said, but how she said it. The casual cruelty of it. The complete dismissal of both my mother's situation and my feelings about it. I stood there for about 3 seconds, letting it sink in. Then something crystallized inside me, clear and cold and absolutely certain. "Good luck to you," I said quietly, "finding a new husband." Her hand froze with the lipstick halfway to her lips again. She turned around slowly, her face showing the first real emotion of the entire conversation. "Shock. What did you just say? You heard me. You just told me that your vacation with friends is more important than being there when my mother might be fighting for her life. You said good luck to her about emergency surgery, like you were talking about a poker game." "I didn't mean it like that." "Yes, you did. That's exactly how you meant it. And now I know exactly who I married." She set down the lipstick with shaking hands. "You're being ridiculous. You can't end a marriage over one disagreement. This isn't a disagreement. This is you showing me who you really are when it matters most. And I'm showing you who I am too. But I love you. No. Someone who loves me doesn't say good luck to her about my mother's emergency surgery so they can keep their vacation plans." The color was draining from her face. "Now you're upset. You're not thinking clearly. Let's talk about this when you've calmed down." I shook my head. "I've never been thinking more clearly in my life. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. She reached toward me, but I stepped back. I told you that you could stay right there and not even dare look at my face again. I meant every word. The bathroom fell completely silent except for the sound of her breathing getting faster and shallower. You can't be serious, she whispered. I walked downstairs and started making phone calls. First to my boss, explaining I'd need Friday off and possibly Monday too. Then to the hospital to confirm visiting hours and what my mother would need for her recovery. Upstairs, I could hear my wife pacing back and forth, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. 20 minutes later, she came down wearing a different outfit entirely, jeans and a sweater instead of her work clothes. I called in sick, she announced, like this was some grand gesture. Now, can we please talk about this rationally? I didn't look up from my laptop where I was researching post-surgical care. There's nothing to talk about. Of course there is. You're acting like I committed some horrible crime. You did. She sat down across from me at the kitchen table. I said one thing wrong in a stressful moment. People do that. It doesn't mean anything. It means everything. Listen to yourself. You're talking about ending our marriage because I don't want to cancel a trip I've been planning for months. I closed the laptop and looked at her directly. I'm ending our marriage because when I needed you most, you told me good luck finding someone else to care. That's not what I said. Good luck to her, but no. Those were your exact words about my mother's surgery. Her face flushed. I was frustrated. You were putting me in an impossible position. The only impossible position here is me trying to stay married to someone who thinks a vacation is more important than family emergency. She leaned forward, trying to look earnest. What if we compromise? What if I go for just the weekend and come back Sunday night? I'd missed the last 2 days of the trip. I almost laughed. You still don't get it. Then explain it to me. The fact that you think this is about compromise shows exactly how far apart we are. This isn't a negotiation. Your immediate response when I told you my mother needs emergency surgery was to protect your vacation plans. But I can still change my mind. I can still choose to stay. Too late. How is it too late? Nothing's been decided yet. I stood up and started gathering my things. Everything's been decided. You showed me exactly where I rank in your priorities. She jumped up and grabbed my arm. Where are you going? To the hospital. My mother has pre-surgery appointments today. I'll come with you. No. What do you mean, no? I mean, don't. She doesn't need to see the woman who just told her good luck with her cancer surgery. I never said anything about cancer. You said good luck to her, like she was asking for spare change, not facing the possibility of dying on an operating table. Her grip tightened on my arm. I was just trying to protect something that's important to me. And I'm just trying to protect someone who's important to me. The difference is, when forced to choose, I choose the person I love. You choose the vacation. I pulled my arm free and headed for the door. Wait, she called after me. Let's sleep on this. Maybe tomorrow we'll both see things differently. I turned back to her. Tomorrow you'll still be the person who said those words and I'll still be the person who heard them. But people change. People grow. Some things don't change. Some things just reveal who someone really is underneath everything else. She followed me to the garage, so that's it. 6 years of marriage down the drain because of one conversation. 6 years of marriage down the drain because when it mattered most, you chose yourself. Everyone chooses themselves sometimes, not when their family is scared and facing surgery alone. I got in my car and rolled down the window. Please, she said, and for the first time her voice cracked. Please don't do this. I love you. If you loved me, you would have said yes immediately when I asked for your support. You wouldn't have even had to think about it. I just need time to process this. It caught me off guard. Emergency surgery caught you off guard. My reaction shouldn't have. I started the engine. She put her hand on the window frame. What about counseling? What about working through this together? What would we work through? How to care about each other's families, that's not something you learn in therapy. That's something you either feel or you don't. I do care. I just express it differently. No, you care about different things, that's the problem, so you're just giving up on us. I looked at her standing there in our driveway, and for a moment I felt something that might have been sadness. But then I remembered her words, the casual way she dismissed my mother's surgery, and the feeling passed. I'm not giving up on anything. I'm choosing to be with people who choose me back. I backed out of the driveway and drove away, leaving her standing there watching my taillights disappear around the corner. Friday morning came gray and cold. I was at the hospital by 6 a.m., holding my mother's hand while the nurses prepped her for surgery. She squeezed my fingers and tried to smile. You didn't have to come this early, she said. Where else would I be? She looked around the pre-op room. Where's your wife? I've been dreading this question for 2 days. She had something she couldn't get out of. My mother nodded, but I could see the disappointment in her eyes. She'd always liked my wife, always defended her when I occasionally complained about small things. Now, I was grateful she couldn't see what kind of person I'd actually married. At 7:30 they wheeled her into surgery. The doctor said it would take about 4 hours. I settled into the waiting room with a book I wouldn't be able to concentrate on, and that's when my phone started buzzing. Text after text. I know you're angry, but please call me. I've been thinking all night, and you're right, I should stay. I told the girls I might not come. Please just call me back. I turned the phone face down and didn't respond. An hour later, more texts. I'm at the airport, but I haven't checked in yet. Say the word and I'll come to the hospital instead. Please don't do this to us. I'm scared you really mean this. I deleted them without responding. By noon, my mother was out of surgery, and the doctor was giving me good news. They'd caught everything early. The procedure went perfectly, and she'd make a full recovery. I sat beside her bed while she slept off the anesthesia, feeling grateful and exhausted. My phone had been quiet for a few hours, but around 2 p.m. it lit up again. Just landed in Miami. The weather is beautiful. 20 minutes later at the hotel now. The room is amazing. Then photos started coming through. My wife and her 3 friends posing by the pool holding colorful drinks, big smiles, designer sunglasses, everyone looking like they didn't have a care in the world. While I was watching my mother slowly wake up from cancer surgery, my wife was posting Instagram stories of herself in a bikini with the caption, "Finally free for the weekend." I screenshotted that one and saved it. Saturday brought more of the same photos of expensive dinners, nightclub very important person sections, beach volleyball games. Each image felt like a slap in the face, but also like confirmation that I'd made the right choice. My mother was doing well, sitting up and eating solid food. Her church friends had been calling and visiting all day. Mrs. Rodriguez from next door brought homemade soup. My college buddy came by with flowers and stayed for an hour telling stories that made my mother laugh. "You have such good people in your life," she said to me while watching Mrs. Rodriguez fuss over her pillow arrangement. "I'm learning to tell the difference between the good ones and the rest." Sunday evening, my phone rang. Not a text this time, but an actual call. I let it go to voicemail.
"Hey, it's me. I know you're probably still mad, but I wanted you to know I've been thinking about you and your mother all weekend. I hope she's okay."
"I hope you're okay too. We should talk when I get back tomorrow night. I think we can work through this if we just talk." I played the message twice, listening for any real remorse, any understanding of what she'd done wrong. All I heard was someone who thought a weekend of guilt was enough to fix 6 years of misplaced priorities. Monday morning, my mother was released from the hospital. I drove her home and got her settled in her recliner with everything she needed within reach. She was tired, but in good spirits. "Thank you for being here," she said as I was leaving. "I don't know what I would have done without you. You'll never have to find out." "Your wife called me yesterday," she said suddenly. I froze in the doorway. "She did?" She wanted to know how I was doing. She sounded upset about something. "What did she say?" Just asked about the surgery and said she was sorry she couldn't be here. She sounded like she'd been crying. I nodded and kissed my mother's forehead. "Get some rest. I'll check on you tomorrow." Driving home, I thought about that phone call. My wife had reached out to my mother directly, probably hoping to score points, or maybe genuinely feeling guilty. Either way, it was too little, too late. When I pulled into our driveway, I could see lights on in the house. She was back. I sat in the car for a moment, steeling myself for whatever conversation was coming. Through the kitchen window, I could see her moving around, probably making dinner or cleaning up from her trip. 4 days ago, I might have been excited to see her return. I might have been eager to hear about her weekend and share the good news about my mother's recovery. Now I just felt tired. I grabbed my overnight bag from the trunk. I'd been staying at a hotel near the hospital and walked up to the front door of what used to feel like home. Before I could even get my key out, the door opened. She stood there in yoga pants and one of my old college t-shirts. Her hair pulled back in a messy bun. Her eyes were red and puffy. "How's your mother?" she asked immediately. "She's fine. Surgery went perfectly." Relief flooded her face. "Thank God, I was so worried." "Were you?" The question hung between us like a challenge. "Of course I was. I know you don't believe that, but I was thinking about her the whole time." Funny way of showing it. She stepped aside to let me in. "Can we please talk?" Really talk this time. I set my bag down and looked around our living room. Everything was exactly as I'd left it Friday morning, but it felt different now, like I was visiting someone else's house. Talk about what? About us? About fixing this? There's nothing to fix. There's just the truth to accept. The truth is that I made a mistake. A big one, but people make mistakes. I turned to face her fully. What mistake did you make? I should have canceled the trip. I should have stayed here with you. That's not the mistake. Her brow furrowed. Then what was? The mistake was who you turned out to be when it mattered. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. I know you're hurt. I know I said things wrong, but can't we move past this? Move past what, exactly? This whole situation, this misunderstanding. There was no misunderstanding. You said exactly what you meant, and I heard exactly what you said. She walked to the couch and sat down, patting the cushion next to her. Come sit with me. Let's just talk like normal people. I remained standing. Normal people don't abandon their spouse's family during medical emergencies. I didn't abandon anyone. I made a selfish choice. I admit that. But I'm here now. You're here now because your vacation is over. That's not fair. Fair? I almost laughed. You want to talk about fair? Let me tell you what fair would have been. Fair would have been you saying, of course, I'll cancel the trip without me even having to ask. Fair would have been you holding my hand in that waiting room while my mother was in surgery. Fair would have been you helping me get her settled at home today, instead of nursing a hangover from your Miami nightclubs. Her face crumpled. I know I messed up, but I can make it up to you. I can make it up to your mother. How? I don't know yet, but I will. I'll figure out a way. I shook my head. You still don't understand. This isn't something you make up for. This is something that reveals who you are. I'm the woman who's loved you for 6 years. I'm the woman who married you and built a life with you. No, you're the woman who told me good luck to her when my mother needed surgery. Everything else was just acting. She stood up quickly. Stop saying that. Stop reducing our entire relationship to one bad moment. One moment of truth is worth more than 6 years of pretending. I wasn't pretending. I love you. Love isn't a feeling you have in comfortable moments. Love is what you do when everything goes wrong. She moved closer to me. Then let me show you. Let me prove that I love you by fighting for us. The time to fight for us was Friday morning when I asked for your support. I was protecting something important to me, and I was protecting something important to me. The difference is, what's important to me includes you. What's important to you apparently doesn't include me. Her eyes filled with tears. That's not true. Your actions say otherwise. Actions. What about the action of me coming home early from the trip? I cut it short by half a day to get back to you. You came home when the trip was scheduled to end. Don't rewrite history. Fine, but I'm here now trying to fix this. You're here now because you realized I wasn't bluffing. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. What do you want me to say? What words will make this right? There are no words that will make this right. So, that's it. You've already decided. I decided Friday morning when you showed me who you really are. People can change. Character doesn't change. Character gets revealed. She sat back down heavily. So what happens now? Now you find somewhere else to stay. The words hit her like cold water. What? You heard me. This is over. I want you out. You can't be serious. This is my home too. This is the home of two people who cared about each other's families. Since that's not who we are anymore, it's just my home. I have rights. We're married. Then we'll get unmarried. She stared at me in disbelief. You're talking about divorce. I'm talking about reality. We're not compatible people. We never were. It just took a crisis to show us. We are compatible. We've been happy for years. We've been comfortable for years. There's a difference. I don't accept that. You don't have to accept it. You just have to live with it. She stood up again this time with more determination. I'm not giving up on us that easily. There is no us. There's you and there's me, and we want different things from life. I want you. You want the version of me that doesn't ask you to sacrifice anything. That's not a husband. That's a roommate. That's not true. When have you ever put my needs before your wants? The question caught her off guard. She opened her mouth, then closed it. I can't think of a specific example right now, but because there isn't one. That doesn't mean it. It means everything. It means this whole marriage has been you taking what you want and me giving it to you. You never complained before because I thought you'd be there when it mattered. I thought if I ever really needed you, you'd come through. I would have come through. I just needed time to process. My mother didn't have time for you to process. I didn't have time for you to process. Cancer doesn't wait for you to decide if you feel like being supportive. She sank back onto the couch. So, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. How can you be so cold? I'm not cold. I'm clear. There's a difference. This isn't the man I married. This is exactly the man you married. You just never bothered to notice him before. She looked up at me with desperate eyes. Please, just give me another chance. Let me show you that I can be the wife you need. The wife I needed would have been at the hospital Friday morning without being asked. But I can learn. I can grow. Some things you learn, some things you either feel or you don't. I feel them. I just expressed them wrong. Sometimes you didn't express anything wrong. You expressed exactly how you really feel. I picked up my overnight bag and headed for the stairs. Where are you going? To pack some things. You have until the end of the week to figure out your living situation. And if I don't, then I'll figure it out for you. I was halfway up the stairs when she called after me. I'm not giving up. I'm going to fight for this marriage. I stopped and turned back to her. You already lost. The call started Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. I was having coffee at my mother's house, helping her with her morning medications when my phone began ringing. I declined the call. It rang again immediately. Aren't you going to answer that? My mother asked. No. By noon, I had 23 missed calls and 47 text messages. I scrolled through a few of them while my mother napped. Please just talk to me. I can't eat. I can't sleep. I can't function. Everyone thinks I'm crazy for not fighting harder for us. I called in sick to work. I can't focus on anything. Please, 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 just give me 5 minutes. I deleted them all and turned off the phone. Wednesday brought a new strategy. My friend Dave called my mother's landline. She asked me to call you, he said when I answered. She's really broken up about this. I'm sure she is. Maybe you should hear her out. She seems genuinely sorry. Dave, did she tell you what she said about my mother's surgery? There was a pause. She said you two had a disagreement about her trip. That's one way to put it. Another way would be to say she told me good luck to her when I asked for support during my mother's cancer surgery. Another pause. Longer this time. She said that word for word. Jesus. I had no idea.
Now you do. Yeah. I wouldn't have called if I'd known that.
Thursday, she tried a different approach. I was at the grocery store when I saw her sister walking toward me down the cereal aisle. We need to talk. She said, no, we don't. She's my sister. I have to try. I kept walking, but she followed. She told me what happened. She knows she messed up. Good for her. She's talking about doing something drastic. That made me stop. Like what? I don't know. She won't say. But she's not acting like herself. She's acting exactly like herself. That's the problem. Come on. You know she's not a bad person. I know she's not the person I thought she was. People say stupid things when they're stressed. And people show their true colors when they're tested. Her sister grabbed my arm. She loves you. She's always loved you. Love isn't what you say, it's what you do when nobody's watching. So that's it. 6 years down the drain. 6 years of learning who I was really married to. I pulled free and continued shopping. She didn't follow. Friday morning, exactly 1 week after my mother's surgery, I was at her house helping her shower when someone started pounding on the front door. I'll get it, I called to my mother. Through the peephole, I could see my wife standing on the porch, holding a massive bouquet of flowers. Her eyes were red and swollen, her hair was unwashed, and she was wearing the same clothes I'd seen her in 2 days ago. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. These are for your mother, she said, thrusting the flowers toward me. And this is for you. She handed me an envelope with my name written in her handwriting. I wrote you a letter, everything I couldn't say out loud, everything I should have said a week ago. I don't want your letter. Please just read it. It explains everything. There's nothing to explain. There's everything to explain. I was wrong. I was selfish. I was horrible. But I can change. No, you can't. Yes, I can. I've been thinking all week about what you said, and you're right. I was protecting the wrong things. I was prioritizing the wrong things. You were being yourself. No, I was being scared. I was being immature. But I can grow up. I can be better. My mother's voice called from the bathroom. Who's at the door, honey? Nobody important, I called back. My wife's face crumpled. Please don't say that. It's the truth. I brought your mother flowers. I called her every day this week to check on her. Congratulations. You did the bare minimum a week too late. I know I can't undo what I said, but I can show you who I really am going forward. You already showed me who you really are. She started crying harder. I was jealous, okay? I was jealous that your mother gets so much of your attention and love, and I wanted something that was just mine. The trip was mine. My time with my friends was mine. And when you asked me to give it up, I felt like I was losing the only thing that belonged to me. So you decided to make my mother's surgery about you. I didn't mean to. I panicked. I felt cornered. You felt cornered by being asked to support your husband during a family emergency? I know how it sounds now. I know how horrible it sounds. It sounded horrible then, too. That's why I ended our marriage. She wiped her nose with her sleeve. What can I do? Tell me what I can do to fix this. Nothing. There has to be something. There isn't. I'll go to therapy. I'll work on myself. I'll prove to you that I can be the wife you deserve. The wife I deserved would have been at the hospital last Friday. But I can become her. I can learn to be her. I looked at this woman I'd spent 6 years with, standing on my mother's porch, begging for another chance, and felt nothing but exhaustion. You can't learn to have a different heart. What does that mean? It means some people's first instinct is to help. Some people's first instinct is to protect themselves. You can't change your first instinct. I can try. Trying to be a good person isn't the same as being a good person. She held out the envelope again. Please just read the letter. If you read it and still want me gone, I'll go, but please just read it. I took the envelope and immediately dropped it in the trash can beside my mother's front door. Her mouth fell open. You didn't even look at it. I don't need to. I lived it. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. There's a difference. I don't deserve this. You deserve exactly what you chose. I chose wrong. People choose wrong sometimes, and sometimes choosing wrong costs you everything. My mother called from inside. Is everything okay out there? Everything's fine, I called back. Then to my wife, you need to leave. My mother doesn't need to see this. She's my mother-in-law too. No, she's not. Not anymore. Please go home. Figure out your next move, but leave my family alone. I started to close the door, but she put her hand against it. I'm not giving up, she said desperately. I can't give up. Yes, you can. You just don't want to. Because I love you. Because you don't want to lose. I gently but firmly removed her hand from the door. There's nothing left to win. This time, I closed the door and locked it. Through the window, I watched her stand there for a full minute before finally walking back to her car, the rejected flowers scattered on the porch where she dropped them. Saturday evening, 2 weeks after the surgery, I was leaving my mother's house when I found my wife sitting on the curb beside my car. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. I've been waiting here for 3 hours, she said, standing up slowly. That was your choice. I lost my job. I unlocked my car door. Sorry to hear that. I lost it because I couldn't function because I've been calling in sick and crying at my desk and making mistakes. Sounds like a personal problem. Everything is falling apart without you. Everything was already falling apart. You just couldn't see it. She moved to block my car door. I filed for divorce yesterday. That surprised me. Good. At least you're being practical for once. I thought if I did it first, you'd realize what we were losing. I thought you'd fight for us. I already fought for us. I fought by asking you to stay for my mother's surgery. You fought back by choosing your vacation. I know I lost, but can't we start over? Can't we try again? With what? The same two people who want different things? I want different things now. I want what you want. No, you want to not lose. That's different. She started crying again, but quietly this time. I can't imagine my life without you. You should have thought about that before you told my mother good luck. I've thought about nothing else for 2 weeks. I replay that conversation every night. I wish I could take it back, but you can't. And even if you could, it wouldn't change who you are underneath. Who am I underneath? I looked at her for a long moment. Someone who calculates the cost of caring. That's not fair. Fair would have been you at the hospital holding my hand while my mother was in surgery. This is just honest. She leaned against my car. So what happens now? Now you move on. You find someone who shares your priorities. What if I don't want someone else? Then you learn to live with the consequences of your choices. And you? Do you want someone else? I thought about it. I want someone who doesn't have to think twice about being there when it matters. I could be that person. No, you couldn't. You can pretend to be that person, but when the next crisis comes, you'll calculate again. She wiped her eyes. You really believe that? I know that. How? Because someone who has to learn to care doesn't really care. They just learn to act like they care. She nodded slowly, finally understanding. So, this is really it. This is really it. I'm sorry for all of it. For what I said, for what I chose, for who I turned out to be. I know you are, but it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't. She walked around to the passenger side and got something from her purse. These are yours, she said, holding out my spare keys. I cleaned out all my stuff yesterday. I took the keys. Thank you. Your mother called me this morning. She wanted to make sure I was okay. That sounds like her. She's a good woman. You're lucky to have her. I know. She raised a good man, too. Better than I deserved. I didn't argue with that. I hope you find someone who appreciates what they have. I hope you figure out what you really want from life. She smiled sadly. I thought I wanted adventure. Turns out I just wanted you. Same thing, apparently. She laughed despite the tears. I guess you're right. I got in my car and rolled down the window. Take care of yourself. You too. I drove away without looking back. In my rearview mirror, I could see her standing there on the empty street, getting smaller and smaller until she disappeared completely. My phone buzzed with one final text an hour later. "Thank you for showing me who I really was. I hope someday I can become who I should have been." I deleted it and blocked her number. 3 months later, my mother was declared cancer-free. We celebrated with dinner at her favorite restaurant, surrounded by the people who had been there when it mattered. I never regretted my choice. Some bridges are meant to be burned. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.